Hello, welcome to the Joel Fleischman Happy Hour Podcast, episode number 70. I am here with Tim Rethlake from Hearth and Home Technologies, as well as the producer, Marcus. How you doing, Marcus?
Good.
Hi, Tim. Welcome.
Hey, guys. Good to be with you today.
Cheers. Happy hour.
Happy hour back to you.
All right. And we're obviously doing this virtual. What are you drinking there?
I am today, Joel, I am rocking the Fireside Flannel Brown Ale from Liftbridge Brewing in Stillwater, Minnesota.
Stillwater, right by Anderson Windows, correct? On the river there?
That is where Anderson is. That's correct. And our retail stores that we own here are called Fireside Hearth and Home. That's the brand. And so we did some co-marketing a couple of years ago with Liftbridge on their Fireside Flannel and had some cool giveaways.
Yeah, and we actually have our own beer called Drexel Horse Medicine. And so we actually have taken it a step further and got our own beer made by the good people of Central Waters, who happen to sponsor this podcast. By sponsoring means they give us free beer.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. So is that a combination of hops and ivermectin in that can?
Yeah, we call it prescription number 1985. So my grandpa, Fleischman, who was on a homestead farm, when I was little, he always, after you had a long day at work, always called, could you get your dad and me some horse medicine? And man, I had no idea what he talked about. I'd stare at the fridge and I ended up grabbing 2 beers and he'd say, oh, this is great horse medicine. And that's how I knew it growing up. And then when the horse medicine thing came up with COVID, I'm like, we got to make that into a beer. So we did that. We gave that, instead of giving builders some Busch Light or something, we give them some horse medicine now. So
I love stories like that have a great origin to them.
Yeah, well, that's sales, right? That's sales. So let's load it. Marcus, we never do bios, but we got to jazz this up a little bit. So Marcus, let's give a bio here.
Yeah, just give a little background. So Tim Rethlake has held various leadership positions in sales and marketing since joining Hearth and Home Technologies in 1997. Lifelong learner. I'm very active on LinkedIn, which I believe in your bio was looking since 2011. You've posted one thing a day, one kind of sales tip, which is pretty interesting. Authored many sales training programs, authored Good to Great sales blog, has appeared on many podcasts and a speaker at many construction events. So we appreciate you taking some time to kind of sit down and talk to us a little bit.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Glad to be with you guys. So
why Tim is really on, this is kind of a crazy thing. I have never met Tim. This is the first time I've actually even seen him in person, but I have followed Tim on Twitter for years. I retweet a lot of his stuff. I comment a lot. I feel like I have a relationship with him, which is bizarre. I'm mainly on Twitter for Dynasty and Devy football. So I always say followers usually quickly unfollow me. They either think I'm posting about Drexel or about sales leaderships and quotes, maybe about spiritual stuff and God, or about football. Great follow. That's how we know each other. Interestingly enough, and Tim, interestingly, there's so few building supply people on Twitter. I haven't, and I try to follow lumber guys. I've tried to make it into a thing, and it hasn't stuck. Maybe and I've never had good luck with LinkedIn. I post there rarely, and when I usually do, it's usually something cryptic or comical because I haven't made a connection with that either. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you use social media.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. And Joel, I guess our common connective tissue with you and I goes back to Bradley Hartman, I think.
Yeah.
Because you were the inaugural guest when he launched his podcast. You were episode 1 and I was episode 3. and I had recorded my episode with Bradley before I heard yours because he got a few in the bank before he launched. And I told him afterwards, I said, man, I'm sure as hell glad that I didn't hear Joel's podcast before I had to record mine, or I'd have been totally psyched out because you absolutely you crushed that episode. So I can see why he had you in the beginning there. But yeah, your question's a good one about
Bradley. You're listening. Shout out to Bradley, and we've obviously Tim and I made you into the guy you were. So I haven't gotten any royalty checks yet, but we'll be expecting those, Bradley, if you are listening.
Yeah, Bradley, as we both know, is not lacking in self-confidence, and I think we helped him along with that. Your question's an interesting one about platforms, and my content that's on Twitter daily, Monday through Friday, typical sales guy exaggerating. Monday through Friday is when I put content out, and it's the same content on both LinkedIn and Twitter. And I use Hootsuite as a platform to archive, and then it times it out, right? Because I'll run into people and they go, "Man, you're a machine, 7:45 every morning." And I'm going, yeah, that's not what it looks like. That's all programmed in ahead of time.
If I would have been you, I'd have been doing it at 3:45 a.m. just rise and grind. Like, if you're gonna really go out there, you got to use the Hootsuite for early.
Yeah, well, and I grew up on a dairy farm in Indiana, so I wake up at 5:30 no matter what time zone I'm in. But the reason that I stuck with Twitter but my social, I am not a social influencer. That's not my goal here. My audience is an inch wide and a mile deep, and it's primarily the owners and the salespeople of our trade partners. We sell into the new construction channel through installing distributors who are trade contractors to home builders. And then on the retail side, the consumer side, we sell to retail hearth shops, dealers. And so we sell to resellers, of course. And they were really my audience. And so I wasn't out there to get 10,000 likes and all of that, which is good because I'm not. But what I loved about Twitter was originally it was 140 characters. Now it's 280. But the discipline of that brevity, right, is what really kind of keeps me honest. And so I love that 280 character limit because that keeps me succinct. And there's no, I think all of us kind of have a little bit of fatigue of scrolling through our LinkedIn, and all of a sudden these people now turn their cameras on themselves and it's talking head, just one after another after another. And so I'm trying not to be that.
Yeah, interesting. With that, I was going to comment, you're so right about the succinctness of Twitter and how we need to focus, and I think so many things are lost in that. The thing that I'm really geeked up about, I wish it was publicly traded, is Be Real. Have you heard of Be Real? Are you on Be Real?
I have not, no.
Be Real's platform is going to go, whatever that is, the chart's going to be off the charts. A lot of the young kids are into it. You get a notification on your phone. You have 2 minutes to post. If not, it's posted as a late, so you really can post once a day. It's one single post, just a picture. It takes it at the same time. It takes a selfie and it takes a regular picture. So you see the person, you see what they're doing. You have 2 minutes to post, and it's just called Be Real. So they post it, no hashtag, no text, no content. You're sleeping, you're awake, and I only do it with my family, but it's great. My son's in college, and every day it's Be Real time, so we all do it. Oh yeah, he's walking to class, or he's doing this, and dad's at work. My daughter's at school. I think it's going to be a thing because I think we're actually trying to shrink that space and not expand it. Like you said, talking heads, ads, and we're so complicated in our life. I think the Be Real is going to be the next. There's always going to be another thing with this technology, obviously. I think the next thing is actually smaller. So a couple of ways I want to go. You are very similar to us as builders. You had mentioned to us that you are coming up for your legacy moment where you're kind of saying, hey, what's my next thing? My question is, what do you think? You're such a sales talking person. What has changed in our industry? I'm going to ask a deeper question. If you were to hire a salesperson today, how has that changed from the 80s, 90s, 2000s? What kind of person are you looking for, or hasn't it changed? What does that person look like and smell like and feel like?
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's going to be the next 26 minutes or however much we have left here.
That's worth it.
Yeah, it was interesting on your, I think it was on your blog where you talked about the Model 1 salesperson and the Model 2, right? And yeah,
it's what I'm currently obsessed with, for sure. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And home building in general, trade contractors specifically are not what I would call early adopters. And most sales onboarding programs are the new guy who was taught by the old guy who was taught by the dead guy. And so, and you know, and they always, they always poo-poo sales process, right? Like we have a process for everything in our business. We have a process for how we receive and inventory, and we have a process for how we invoice, and we have a process for how we pay our bills. But when it came to sales, it was kind of the wild, wild west, and everybody goes, well, everybody, you just go out, here's the price book, here's your list of customers, go get them, Tiger. And that just that doesn't get it done today. And one thing that I was kind of struck by, it was was it Alaire Homes? Was that the name of the company?
You did his research. Well done.
You said something on there about that customers, and I disagreed with it a little bit, because you said customers don't need product info from sales reps anymore because it's all out there on the internet. And I think it's actually the opposite of that now, because there is so much information on the internet. Customers know more than they understand. And so what they're looking for a salesperson for now is to be meaning makers. Help sort this out for me. And they're actually looking for recommendations from your Drexel salespeople. They're saying, look, here's based on the budget you've got, based on this floor plan, based on the code jurisdiction we're building in, I recommend this, and here's why.
Trusted advisors. I also, you can know, and I grew up that way. Hey, I'm colorblind. I can't help you. There's a lot of options. This is on you. What I was trying to say more is we don't need customers. They don't need more information. They don't need spewing about the BTU ratios and how high your flame's going to be and how many logs are in the fire. But they want to say, this is why I stand apart. This is why my Heat and Glow product is just a bit better than everybody else in the marketplace. So they need to know that, but they still need to sell themselves. And again, you're right. It was a process. And then when I add on the process by management too. The dead old guy also didn't understand that in the 90s, how critical for a salesman that you're going to run out of time here.
And that was the other thing. Now you're jogging my memory. The other thing you said is that wealthy people don't value more money; they value more time, right? Because that's the only thing we can't get back. I can lose money today, but I can make more tomorrow. If I lose time today, man, it's in the wind. It's gone. And so we as manufacturers and distributors we do a disservice to our salespeople when we hire them and onboard them, because we bring them in, we take a strap and we strap their head to a board and we put a funnel in their ear and we dump them full of product information. And then we're surprised when they go out and they talk instead of listen. So I don't think I ever did answer your original question about what to look for in a salesperson. Go ahead.
No, I said you're getting closer.
I'm getting close. Yeah. I'm coming in the back door to get to the front porch. Curiosity is one of because if you have natural curiosity, your default mode is to listen and not talk first. And there's this very simple little mantra that I use when I'm doing sales training for our trade partners or for our teams. And it just goes like this: is, does, because. This is what it is. This is what it does. And that's important because you said, right? So for our industry, I'll give you a fireplace industry because I don't know much about lumber. So what this is an adjustable fireplace that you can take the flame down by half, right? That's what it does. And that's important because you said you plan to entertain a lot at home. Well, they don't want to turn their fireplace off when their guests are there. So let's take the heat down, right? But as a salesperson, you can't play that game of because you said if you didn't ask questions up front and then listen with the intent to understand, not the intent to respond. And too many salespeople are waiting for that hint, that little opening that this customer says something and you go, oh, I got a solution for that. And boom, we're right in on it. right? And it's just, man, take a deep breath, calm down, listen a little bit for understanding. What's the story behind the story? Because there's pain. There's pain. Every customer had, and I've not met a customer yet that their current state is exactly what they want. They are living in nirvana. I've never met a customer that does that. So if you could just shut up long enough, be patient, they'll tell you what they need.
There's a reason they took the meeting. The reason
Mhm.
they're there. Your projects are spec'd for fireplaces. We sell cabinetry, flooring. I always said it, we actually have a pretty easy job. Our customers actually need our product. We're not selling life insurance. I don't actually need life insurance. That's a tougher sell. Our customers simply need us. And I've always said, and I'm just arrogant, but I'm also confident. I believe I'm a better solution than the guy down the road. I think I can help you a bit more. And again, I talk too much, but yes, exactly right. The listening, the curiosity, the spark, that's a huge component. What's the next? Let's just stay on it. As long as we said it's going to soak up our time. What would be the next trait that you'd be looking for beyond curiosity?
I think the ability to take a punch. One thing that I'm a little concerned about, Joel, is that we have salespeople in the trades who have 2.5 years of experience and have never spent 1 second proactively prospecting because they haven't had to. I've been trying to retire for a couple of years here, but COVID has been such a tailwind for us that I kind of felt like I was abandoning the team because we needed all hands on deck. Your business, I'm sure, is the same way. It ain't always going to be that way. 2023 is going to look very different.
No, we've been walking around. We're going to wear camo like it's wartime. I love it. I think all true salesmen. I think Tim, you're one of those people. I can't wait. I love that. But my team looks at me like Spaceballs. The younger team, right? They're order takers. We've trained them to some way. They had to be post-pandemic. They had to get organized. They had to build a process internally, systematically how to get products. So I think they're experts at that. But yes, asking for the business, following up. I said break out of the friend zone like dating, right? Like, is the guy buying from you? Well, not really, but we're friends. Well, that's not going to pay the bills real soon. I think that storm's coming real fast and real furious, and nobody realized it. Give me a prediction of where the economy is going to go.
Now you've got me out of my comfort zone because I'm a sales and marketing guy, not an economist.
Well, I think we earned the right to give me a gut feeling.
All right. I think we are pretty stable until about the middle of next year. I think there's enough backlog that's out there that what is in the pipe is gonna carry a lot of businesses through. And then assuming that the direction kind of stays the way it is, I think the second half of next year there's going to be a sorting out period. Let's put it that way. And that's the time. It's that second half, Joel, next year that I'm concerned because we have some younger generations coming into sales, right? The Gen Z, Gen Yers coming in, and they have lived their entire life on this attention deficit device and counting how many likes did I get. And now we're going to ask that guy or that gal to go out and talk to a stranger who doesn't know them. And that stranger's going to say, who the hell are you again? And what are you doing? And that I tweeted the other day that I'm expecting that a lot of sales blogs next year are going to have the word disillusioned in them in some form. And as far as the salesperson, I get mad every time I hear Hartman's tagline about you are owed nothing, deliver value first. And the only reason I get mad about it is because I didn't think of it first, because it's a great freaking line. And he's exactly right. If you're selling to somebody that's already buying from you, okay, it's good. There's some perceived value there, but to get a total stranger who doesn't trust you with a business relationship currently actually may have had not that it would have ever happened, but may have had a negative experience with Drexel 20 years ago, right? Some of these home builders have long memories, as you well know. And the person who sinned against them hasn't been with you guys for a decade, but it's still in his mind. And so they're not only going to be neutral when you meet them, they may be antagonistic. And the criteria, the gold standard for salespeople that I say, this is almost an unachievable bar, but it's what I want you to aspire to is if I walk into a builder's office or onto his job site immediately after you've walked off, and I ask them, would you pay for the conversation you just had with that salesperson? If they say, yeah, there was that much value, I learned that much. And people go, well, that's kind of that's not attainable. And I go, well, hang on a second. I think our salespeople, Joel, lose track of how the builder looks at them, right? And when the builder looks at a Drexel salesperson, they're saying, look, you talk to people, that 20 or 30 people a day that do what I do. Give me the benefit of what's in your pointy little head. What's going on in the market? You are an expert in their eyes. Sometimes the salespeople don't give themselves enough credit for that expertise.
100%. And I actually think, I get a little dark here when I say that. We're not only going to be delusioned when that builder tells us to bug off, but I think the country could be in a real problem because they're so used to currently post-pandemic to being taken care of. So now I think there's a tremendous amount of people in our country that will be so shocked when they're laid off. There'll be protests and there's going to be riots, and a commissioned salesperson's going to say, but I have to make more money. I work here. And we're going to say, no, you actually don't even work here anymore. I can't do this. But that's going to be the real come to Jesus. And I am concerned about our country, how we're going to rally in even and it's not a tough time. We're not going to be under war situations, but even in that kind of like, hey, we don't have enough money coming in, honey, to kind of keep up with the lifestyle that we started with the pandemic, eating out 3 nights a week. And I think things are going to get ugly, but we're preparing for that every single day by trying to get our salespeople and all 650 people in our organization to believe they are salesmen. As you said, that builder is looking to all of us for that value, to that true, hey, I believe it. They believe in us probably more than we believe in ourselves. We just have to have that energy and that confidence, to come across that way. That's an interesting thing. So
yeah, exactly right. And it's, the one thing I tell our salespeople when I'm doing ride-alongs, I said, if I hear you ask this question, as soon as we get out of the office, you're fired. And it's what keeps you up at night. Don't ever ask a customer that. What you should be saying is, I know you feel like things are pretty good right now, but based on what I'm hearing, based on the meetings we're having inside Drexel and what we think and see is going on, here's what I think is going to be keeping you awake 6 months from now. And it's the ability to see around that curve and not solve a problem for a builder, but keep them from having that problem in the first place. That's where the value comes. And that's where you differentiate yourself as a salesperson.
Here's some little wisdom of if there's a young salesman and we're freaking them out and they're like, I'm out of here. This is crazy. These guys I'm going to quit the industry tomorrow. Here's some positive news. What I learned in 2008, and I'll never forget it. Builders that I've been trying to talk to for decades, guys that are loyal, which you want a loyal customer. So I always appreciate that. Loyal builders and would put up with hell on earth and never switch. They actually have the time to meet. They actually say, I have to figure out my business model. Again, like you said, Tim, Hearth and Home's got something to give me. I might learn a nugget. I do have 30 minutes. You know what? I might actually switch on one job. I really might, because I got to keep my business going. And maybe you do have a better product. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity. Never waste a recession, right? We said it a million times. A terrible recession is a horrible thing to waste. We've already decided at Drexel we're not participating in the recession. That's a John Gordonism that I'll always give him credit for. We're not participating in the recession. We refuse. But to do that, all you have to do is take market share. For Drexel in any of our markets, and we think we're really good, we have less than 5% market share. If I was Amazon, I'd be concerned. I think they've peaked on their market share. I don't think, if you're either already an Amazon customer, you are. If you're not, you probably never will be one. That's concerning for Jeff Bezos. I mean, I'm sure he's not literally concerned. He's fine. But for stockholders, I'd be concerned. I think they peaked and they're going to go up and down with the recession now. For us, we just have to get market share and we'll be done. And then when we come back, we'll be much stronger yet. So
I think that sorry, Joel, but the Amazon thing hit something in my head. I have 3 adult daughters from early 30s into late 20s. Their names are Cost Center 1, Cost Center 2, and Cost Center 3. And they wear me out because I'm an Amazon Prime member, because Amazon is the man, right? They are all about buy local. And they will buy as much as they can from local owned businesses here. And I don't think they're unique in that. I think their friends think a lot the same way. And I think that for you guys, I think that's a tremendous advantage that I don't know how many markets you guys are in, 10, 12 yards, whatever you got, but you're the hometown team, right? And you need to play that card.
Yeah, no, and I am the world's biggest hypocrite. So I am the Amazon Prime guy. You know, if I'm standing in the garage and I need a wrench, and I love my local hardware store, I go in there all the time. But if I just need a little part, I'm like, 2 days later it shows up. I'm like, oh, there's my part. And so I'm the biggest hypocrite. I am the most shop local guy ever. I don't even drink imported beer anymore. I drink local beer. But when it comes to Amazon, they got me. I'm sorry, they got me. That is that's a mind trick that I guess the hypocrisy I'll live with. But no, you're right. People still do want to buy local. I think they'll even become stronger with the recession. I think that's why local restaurants are doing so well for some, and maybe not the franchise restaurants, because people do want to support local. They do inherently, crave that connection piece. I do this because it's like they know that's not a true connection, and they crave that. And I think that's very important. I do. Down to organic eggs that I eat. But I do think Amazon has taken some segments of the marketplace. I think we are both lucky. We sell a heavy product that can't be shipped and transported very easily, and does take, back to your original story, a tremendous amount of product knowledge that sometimes can't be translated currently through the internet. So we do have an advantage in our business model, for sure.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Tim, do you want to touch on, and Joel kind of mentioned it, we talked a lot on our last podcast, but just kind of about the importance of following up, or any tips you'd give, whether it's somebody who's new, who's prospecting, or again, kind of the example you gave where somebody walked away maybe 10 years ago because of a bad experience, like how you would continue to kind of follow up and try to get in the door.
I want to add to your question. That's perfect. I can tell our company's struggling with that right now because we haven't had to follow up. We give the quote, we get the order. And if we don't, who cares? There's another 20 bids I got to do. So we struggle a lot of that process. What is your follow-up process? I think is what we're asking. How do you train people on how do you stay in touch with that person immediately after? Like what
stay in the game, yeah.
Yeah, stay in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's going to get easier because business is going to slow down. Follow-up is important, but it's not urgent, right? Getting the lumber takeoff out is important. But once that bid is out, calling the next day to say, hey, I just wanted to make sure you got it. Do you have any questions, right? Not urgent, but it sure as hell is important. And so one of the other things that I guess I'd put on the list, your list of what I look for in a salesperson is self-discipline, right? And you, in the John Gordon episode, you and he talked about accountability. And too many people, guys, think accountable is a negative term, right? And I don't know how we got there. If you break that word out, accountable, it means I'm able to be counted on. And don't we all want to be that, right? And so one of the things I do love about Drexel is, and I think I got this right, is your frontline salespeople are called, they're the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
They're calling, and I don't know. I assume they have the freedom to, when they get to the line of scrimmage, to call their own play, right? To some extent.
Right.
And so it is, and if you go back to what we said a few minutes ago, that time is your only resource that you can't reproduce, you can't get more of it, then to take however many hours, and I don't know if your salespeople have to do the takeoffs, or you have an inside team that supports them and does the takeoffs, and the salesperson presents it, but to have the company invest hours in that takeoff, whether it's somebody inside that's doing it or the salesperson doing it, and then not take 2 minutes to send a text or a phone call to just follow up and go, want to make sure you got it. Any questions? Are you ready to go? To not take 2 minutes to do that is just super stupid, right? And your salespeople are coin operated, I assume. The more they sell, the more they make. And so it's, it goes back to when I was 24 years old, I saw Zig Ziglar live. And
Wow.
he absolutely changed the trajectory of my sales career. And one of the things he said was, he said, as a salesperson, he says, you've just been given a raise, and your raise is effective just as soon as you are. And follow up and that accountability to yourself, to check in with your customers and make sure they know you are accountable, that's all part of being effective.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
For sure.
I actually wrote that down. You can count on me. That might be like our mantra, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, it's not, I mean,
that's so customer facing, but it's also so internal. From the driver to the manufacturer to the inside person to the finance team to the quarterback, you can count on me. Again, it's similar to do your job, which I've always liked for Belichick.
Yeah, but words are important. Words have meaning, and words are a stock and trade for salespeople, because after you listen and understand, what you say can often, if you have a compelling story about why Drexel instead of the inferior brand X across town, you do have to tell your story at some point. And so words are important. But I also like to keep it simple. And so that's why I like breaking accountable down to just able to be counted on, because it's sticky.
I think words are important, but it's like Bitcoin. The less words, the more important they are.
Yes.
So I have to constantly learn that, right? Succinct words. When you talk, make it matter. Good for all salespeople to understand that.
Yeah,
Tim,
that's the Mark Twain line. I wrote you a long letter because I didn't have time to write you a short one.
I love it. It's actually so true. It's fantastic. I want to know how a guy like you, who I can tell still loves sales, still loves the game, and then we got to get to the billboard question. We're already wrapping up. Talking to salesmen, I could do this for infinity. Why are you retiring? How are you retiring? Where did that come from? Because I can tell you still like the game. What are you going to do next? All that. I want to talk a little bit about legacy. I'm not there yet, but I'm so intrigued by it, because I can see that I can somewhere see the finish line. Hopefully it's down the way, but how did you get there?
Yeah. Well, I'm 68, Joel, so I've certainly got more miles in the rearview mirror than the windshield here. And so that makes you, when you have more than one of these at a setting, it makes you kind of look longingly back in the rearview mirror. And so something that I've kind of landed on here, and I've shared it with a few people here at HHT, and it's a career progression, right? It's profession, passion, purpose. And what I find is that when you ask people why they do what they do, and I don't know if you're a Harry Potter fan or not, but the Sorting Hat, where it said you're going to be in Slytherin or Gryffindor, or, it basically picked you didn't pick it.
Yeah.
So many people. Yeah. So many people, their profession picked them, right? They didn't pick it. Like, if you would have asked a 12-year-old Tim Rethlake, what are you going to be when you grow up? I would not have said a fireplace salesman, right? And so I got into the hearth. Yeah. And I asked builders, I love asking builders, because their origin stories are great. I'd say, how did you get into home building? And it's always a story about, well, my buddy in high school, his dad was a home builder, and we swept out houses all summer long, and I just loved it. And so I went to work for him as a framer, and then I just started my own thing, right? Often the profession picks them. It's, my origin story, John Gordon was talking about being a bartender, right? I was a bartender. My origin story is a Beefeater martini, dry, shaken, not stirred, 2 olives, because that's what Joe O'Brien, who was the national sales manager for Majestic Fireplaces, drank. And so he would walk into my bar, and I'd see him walk in, and I'd hand it to him. And he says, "You need to be in the fireplace business." That's how I got in here in 1978. So you're in your profession, you're in your field that has chosen you. If you do well, keep your nose clean, work hard, tell the truth, all the good stuff that Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts should do. At some point in your career, you get to move from profession to passion. They let you do the parts of your job you love to do, and the parts of your job you're not crazy about, they make somebody else do that. So for me, it moved from selling to coaching and training selling and writing sales training and content. And that's what I was most passionate about, was taking a young salesperson, kind of giving them some things to get them a head start on the path, and then see that email come back 60 days later that said, I thought this was total bullshit when you told me, but I tried it anyway, and I'll be damned, it worked. So that's what I was passionate about. And then in the final third, which is kind of where I'm at now, that's when you have been here long enough that you can look back through that lens and figure out why you were put on this big blue marble. And that's purpose. And so my purpose is going to start in April. I'm going to do a little bit of coaching back with HHT on a part-time basis, but there's a nonprofit here that myself and some other guys have kind of put our heads together and started, called AIM, which is Always Intentional Man. And it is coaching resources for young men who are finding themselves as the father with an unexpected pregnancy situation.
Wow. Good.
There are a lot of resources for the mother as well. There should be, but it seems like there's not a lot out there for the dads. And what we found is that these young men, and I had a bad paradigm about it, Joel. I was the old grouchy, you kids get off my lawn guy. And I just thought these kids didn't care. And I was totally wrong. They do care, but they either didn't have fatherhood modeled in their home, or if it was modeled, it was modeled poorly. And they want to be a dad. They're just scared to death that they're going to screw it up. And so we're putting together, and what it's kind of the perfect storm. There's a lot of guys like me with my demographic of male, pale, and stale that are getting out of the full-time work world, and they want to give back some way. And every time I start telling the story about what we're doing with this startup nonprofit, they go, I want in. How do I become a coach? How do I walk alongside these guys? And so we're pretty excited about that. So that's something I'll be spending some calories on here in the next few months.
And that's just starting, just locally by you?
Yeah.
Like on the ground floor?
Yeah. No, I don't say by me. There's a group of people here. I got in on the second floor, not the ground floor. But
that's the best way. The rocket launch is the hardest. You got to get right past, you go right past the tip of the spear. The spear is all the work. That second wave, that's where I live too. Like if it's just past the tip, it's way easier.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing an organization like that probably needs funding at times. If I'd like to fund it, is there a website established? Because I'm guessing you're looking for funding.
We have a startup grant from one of the founders of Best Buy, and that's enough to get us through our first year. But shortly after the first of the year, my friend, I will come see you, and we will chat.
Okay, or maybe you'll post it on Twitter. I'm going to say it right now. Drexel's making a $5,000 pledge towards your sponsorship for you coming on today. It's a great source. We're in for $5,000. You have Marcus' contact. Send me an invoice or send me the contact, and we'll get that out to you guys. So
thank you very much. That's very generous and not surprising based on what I know about your culture and what you all do there.
Honored to do it. You just owe me a drink in Stillwater sometime if you're in that area still. So.
We can do that. I will come see you, and for $5,000, I'll drive over and pick up the check.
Stillwater's a beautiful area. I don't mind coming up there either. Anderson Windows, I've been there several times.
Are you going out to Vegas for IBS?
No. I mean, it's actually a good story. We sell to builders locally in southeastern Wisconsin. We had a transformation company. Maybe it'll flip back the other way, the pendulum. We went to these national things, and we thought we were a growing company. We needed to be there. I realized our builders said, "You got to come on with me. You got to do this. We can make a more impact right here."
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of energy and a lot of work, and it is meant for the builders, and the builders do a great job out there. And there's a lot of classes they can take, but we learned that's not our best source of resources, and again, time. I can't make an impact out there. I can get really drunk. I can have fun with builders. I can do that here. So we actually kind of pulled those resources back, pulled that time back, and said, that's not our fit. We're such a small little player regionally. Let's just stay home. Make Mother Teresa, make an impact right where you are. And I think we can do that better this way. So
I get it. Would you be open to another way of looking at that show?
Yeah. I'm
a big fan of the educational content that's there, and all of that can happen there. So what if, and this is the part where you'll tell Marcus, hey, cut that part out because I don't want our people hearing this. But what if you took took 2 or 3 of your high potential employees, and you sent them and you said, I want you guys to divide and conquer. I want you all 3 to sit in separate classes. Don't gang up and all hear the same thing. Yeah. And then have them give you a report back on what they learned at the educational sessions, just like you make them do the book reports in your groups 1 and 2. And then what, because remember what we said earlier about the importance of telling a builder, here's what's going to keep you up 6 months from now. What can your young guns learn at that show that comes back, brings value to everybody at Drexel, and say, hey, here's where we think the puck is going to be, as Gretzky supposedly said. And, it's a perk for them because, they get to travel and they get, so it's just something to consider.
So you actually, because I've never considered that, you actually you as a non-builder take builder classes just to see what the nuggets you can mine out of that.
100%, because
I've never had that angle, so that's a great perspective. So
yeah, we want to know what our builders are hearing so that we can be more value to our trade partners, because they have to sell to the builder.
Right. Well, the older I get, the more I believe there's no such thing as the truth. You always need to relearn what you think you know. And the closer you get to wisdom, the closer you realize you really don't know anything. So I appreciate that perspective. That's a different twist on something that I thought maybe I knew. So I appreciate that. Let's get to our billboard. Marcus, frame it up.
Yeah, billboard. So whatever you want on your billboard, it's out there. It's for everybody to see. It could be one thing that means something to you personally, family-wise, spiritually, work-related. Obviously you've dropped a lot of great nuggets here, but what would that one thing be if everybody saw Tim Rethlake's billboard? What would that say?
Yeah. Marcus, I knew this one was coming because it's been on every episode I've listened to. So I knew it was coming.
And it's from Tim Ferriss. It isn't ours. Again, I believe in CASE, copy and steal everything. That's not copyrighted. It's open source.
It's not stealing. It's benchmarking.
You go.
That's what that is. Yeah. And so I have to change it because Marcus, we've had this on the calendar to do this for a couple of months, right? Almost. And so I knew the question was coming. I knew what it was going to say. And then in episode 69, Joel stole it. He took my billboard because my billboard was going to say, you are exactly where you are today because of the choices you made yesterday. And then at the end,
my question to you is, what happened when you heard that during that episode? I mean, that had to kind of shock you, right?
I said, shit, I got to get a new billboard. Yeah, because in episode 69, Joel goes, life is a combination of the choices you've made, so choose wisely. Right. And I go, man, now I got to come up with something else. So here's my new and improved billboard. You are getting exactly the results you deserve. And then small letters in parentheses, just like everybody else in this country. Right. And it is so easy, especially today when the media wants to break us up into tribes and have us sort people out, and it's them, not us, right? It is so easy to point the finger and blame is out there, and it's not. It all starts in here, right? And we should never lose sight of what a blessing it is. You know, I mentioned I have 3 daughters. Just it's grace. It's just absolute grace that they were born in the United States of America and not in a country that's ruled by Sharia law with the Taliban as a woman, right? So man, woman, child in this country, you have self-determination and you have the freedom to be, literally be whatever you want to be. And Joel, I was really happy. I think it was in your book group 2 where you got Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
And it is so good. And for your employees that are, if you haven't gotten in the book club and you've not read any of those books, man, get your hands around that one. It's not a long read. But when he talks, you know, in being in a concentration camp and the fact that the Germans took his liberty, but they did not take his freedom, that is why, you know, I can put a billboard out that says you're getting exactly the results you deserve. And if you want better results, the cause and effect of that's pretty simple.
Oh man, I love it. That's so good. We're eating every word of this, Tim. You're an amazing individual. Be proud of that. And God bless. Thank you for coming on, man. It was a true pleasure. It really was. I'm so glad we
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I'm going to go see if I can find one more of these fireside flannels now, because I'm a little parched from all this chatting.
Well, I'll see you on the Twitterverse, my friend. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
All right.
All right,
Thank
you
you.
too.
Peace.
Bye.